Welcome everybody for our next episode of En Pointe videocast with the Roxy Ballet Company. My name is Pina and today I'm here with Liz and we're going to introduce two amazing people from Miami, Hannah Baumgarten and Diego Salterini, and they are the directors of Dance Now Miami Dance Company. Welcome, I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having us. It's so much fun. Thank you.
Yes. So Liz, would you like to ask the first question we wanted to ask them?
Sure. So Dance Now is celebrating its 20th anniversary, which is amazing. And I just wanted you to discuss your background and how you came to work with each other and start the company.
Hannah, you start.
Well, I think that, we're here in Miami, and Miami is an epicenter for migration and immigration in the United States. It's really considered the Ellis Island in our century. And Miami is what brought us together. I had moved down. I had invested some time in getting to start working with the dance community. And I was teaching a gentleman who was a model. There was a huge modeling community in South Beach, and he told me that he was trying to find, some empathy with his boyfriend that he met modeling in Milan, who was a dancer. And eventually that boyfriend came to visit, and that was Diego. That was back in 1997, and we met, and I have to say it was really sparks and fireworks and thunder, claps and lightning. I looked at him and
It was just summer.
It was typical summer in Miami, and I really felt very quickly it was like a love at first sight, and then got to know him a little bit and dance with him and vibe in the studio together as young people, and we really clicked, and I felt like this was the partner I was looking for my whole life. And very quickly we bonded, and I don't know, I can't remember exactly how quickly it was, but soon after, he made a decision to leave a very illustrious career on television in Italy and come hang out in South Beach with me.
Well,
probably a little bit about that.
Well, in reality, I came, originally it was August, and I came to South Beach on vacation. I was on hiatus with my TV shows that I was working on in Italy. It was just summer vacation, basically August, and so I came to visit my boyfriend at the time, and I met Hannah, and all the things that she said were absolutely true. She failed to mention that she is an incredible dancer coming from Juilliard. She has a very both classical and modern classical training. And I was coming from Italian television, but with a training that was not as formally developed as Hannah's, but still coming from a large experience both in concert dance and in commercial dance. I went back to Italy that September at the end of August under my vacation to finish my contract. I had several contracts that I had to going on after that, but to make a long story short, I decided to move here. And the beautiful thing about moving here is that I met, besides Hannah, also a community that was so, first of all, effervescent at the time, and bubbling with organizations and dancers and opportunities. And that is where actually we met Liz too, because one of the companies that hired me at the time, the name is Momentum Dance Company. And Momentum Dance Company was directed at the time still is, by Delma Isle. And Liz, you were, if I remember correctly, the assistant director,
Yeah.
besides being one of the teachers and one of the choreographers. And so we danced together with Lise and under Lise. And then the community opened up even further. There are other companies like Karen Peterson and Dancers, and Elisa Rosal with Ballet Flamenco La Rosa, who gave me opportunities here to stay by offering me a visa, working visa, and that then became an associated working visa with FIU, Florida International University. Then eventually we created Dance Miami, and I started sponsoring myself. But basically, we had very different backgrounds, Hannah and I, very different places where we're coming from. But somehow we had a common language, a physical common language in dance that kind of resonate with each other very, very easily. And we started working at this place that was called Pan Performing Arts Network. We were teaching classes. We were coming, dancers were coming together, and they kind of convinced us that it was the time for us to create something a couple of years after. So between 1997 and 2000, really, we laid the groundwork, mainly Hannah did, laid the groundwork for the creation of the company. I really had no idea what we had to do in order to do that. Hannah had much more experience than I did.
We believed and respected and loved the past and the historical part of what brought us to the now, but we really were into being contemporary and being current. And what happened is that we brought together these backgrounds that we had in classical and contemporary ballet, modern dance, and jazz. And basically in 1997, there was no contemporary dance per se, but that is what it was. We used to call it an international fusion of ballet, modern, and jazz. Now it's called contemporary dance. Now it is.
Oh, that's very pretentious.
It was very pretentious sounding, but there was no term, and we were really, I have to say, we were sort of on the front edge of believing that a dancer should be able to, in pointe shoes, dance on point and roll on the ground, not even in a different piece, in the same piece, that we were able to start training dancers that could draw from those backgrounds, that had, the syncopations and the timing and the sharpness that jazz brings with it, and the intensity of performance, the groundedness and the use of the torso that modern dance has. And we love ballet. We love everything that brings to it. And we love the classicism of it and the excitement of ballet and the exactness of it. So I think that the beauty of where we came together and where we intersected was that we were pushing forward this new form of dance that is now commonplace 20 something years later, that came out of those backgrounds.
And I think the common sort of denominator between Roxy and you guys is sort of that same idea, because Mark started out as a hip hop dancer. He was one of the first hip hop dancers in Brooklyn, and did all those videos. And then, somebody at Joffrey discovered him and was like, oh my God, you need to study ballet. And so that's how he transformed. But, he never lost those roots, and he never lost that contemporary hip hop jazz side of himself. And so that's why he always keeps saying, I should change the name of the company to, Roxy Contemporary, because, it's not really classical ballet that we do other than the Nutcracker. It's like really everything is very fusion oriented. So I feel like that's why it's great to talk to you guys, because you guys have the same sort of background and ideas.
Where Roxy is coming from, it's from Joffrey. We arrived to Joffrey later in our career, and our connection to both the Joffrey School and the Joffrey Company. So it's kind of weird how, in a sense, now that you're saying it's really, we're following very similar paths.
Exactly.
Yes, so what is your artistic mission and vision with regards to reaching different cultures? And has it evolved since your initial year?
Hannah, do I start?
If you want to, I have an idea, or if you have an idea, go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think we could start at the end. And one of the things that Diego and I are most proud of, one of our seminal work, is called Bridges Not Walls. It is a work that was conceived in 2015, when there was first this political discussion about a wall. And being that, as I mentioned, this is such a hotbed of immigration here in South Florida, we realized that this was something that we wanted to address. And we have, at that time, we had dabbled in some more politically minded ideas of work, but this became a collaboration with the Mexico City Ballet and the Ballet Compañía Clásica de Danza Quintana Roo out of Chetumal. So it was two Mexican companies, and we created a work that has resonated for the past 4 years, almost 5 years now, that is about the us versus them. And it is about the understanding. It was already we already had a Black Lives Matters moment in the piece. There's a poem by Orson Shire called "Home." If you want to look it up, it's incredibly powerful, and it talks about the immigrant experience. It says, "No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark." So, without talking about culturally. Different cultures, we were addressing the subject matter of otherness, of discrimination, of trying to understand the trials and tribulations of an immigrant who is crossing into new cultures. And the piece has resonated not only in Mexico, where we performed several times in different years. We have now performed it in Italy, where their migration crisis made the piece resonate even in a different way. And in the act of these performances, we always incorporated the other dance companies, so that we had on stage, at one point, each dancer stops and proclaims their identity, the things that define them, as opposed to the things later that will bring us together. And we've had people from 3 continents on the same stage, and different sexual orientations, religions, political backgrounds, coming together in this moment to understand that we were trying to build, we have to build bridges in order to make this happen.
In addition to that, I mean, the reality is that we have created a company that is rooted in our cultural differences. I'm Italian, I'm European, I have a certain ancestry that I carry with me. And Hannah is a woman from California that lived in New York. We are here in Miami, where, as Hannah said, it is a new Ellis Island. So we're not really in a melting pot yet here. We are more into a very integrated, or with some difficulties, but more integrated people that are living side by side, not necessarily merging too much. So we are kind of the representation of what Miami is. In our company, we had people of every gender, of course, and religions and colors and sexual orientations. Over the years, we probably can count probably about 50 to 100 dancers in total that we've had through the companies, and we have any kind of representation, and we proudly we are proud of that. We're proud of how not only in the creation of our work, how our own life experiences and the life experiences of the dancers that we work with have influenced what we do and kind of directed us in, or let's say not more than directed us, that kind of pushed us in one direction rather than another. Yeah. And those directions have, we have created a work of every kind of genres and styles, and but we were actually doing our 20th anniversary virtual performance, and we had an interview with one of our former dancers, Algeria Bridges, and we were talking about a piece that we did, I don't know, probably 15 years ago, 13 years ago, I don't know. It was called America, America, and she was mentioning how it was so strange for her to be on the cover of this show, of this performance, being a Black woman and wearing this kind of Southern Belle dress, and this in a piece that was called America, America, that had, that had actually 4 choreographers working on that. It was Michael Utoff, it was Hannah and myself together, I think, and Colleen Farnham, another. So we always try to incorporate as much as possible and represent what Miami truly is, which is, this ever evolving, ever bringing people together, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not necessarily, but
Roxy Ballet was founded in 1995 by Mark and Melissa Roxy to deliver artistic and cultural excellence by bringing high-quality performances to patrons as an all-inclusive organization, fostering a creative environment of growth for artists of all levels, and to preserve and advance the fine art of dance for generations to come. Roxy Ballet fulfills our mission by creating, producing, and performing choreography, formally teaching dance through our affiliated school, and providing highly acclaimed arts education in schools and social service settings. Roxy Ballet is building bridges through dance through its commitment to customizing programs to the specific needs, capacities, audiences, and desired outcomes of our engagements. We thank you for your patronage.
So the thing that you said, which ties directly again into Roxy Ballet, is building bridges. And Mark comes from a multiracial family, and his vision for the company was always that it be all cultures. And he created a piece many years ago called Celebrating Diversity, which is a piece that's about civil rights, human rights, disability rights, and bullying. And the piece is meant to accentuate all the different cultures of dancers that he typically hires each year, starting with monologues for each one. And they were lucky enough to perform at Barack Obama's inauguration.
Wow.
2008. Yeah, this piece, Celebrating Diversity. And that was his whole vision, was building bridges through dance. So I just feel like that's such a whole nother circular connection with your company, is, the whole idea of using dance to come together and not create walls or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so many similarities.
I want to add something else. I mean, we are also extremely fortunate that we live in a community here, Miami-Dade County, that has incredible support for the arts. And one of the things that also pushed Hannah and I in that direction even further was the fact that there is a grant here that is called International Cultural, it just changed the name, International Cultural Program? Partnerships. And basically, Miami-Dade County, through a very competitive grant program, it's not an easy grant program, you have to demonstrate, basically gives you the opportunity to invest money through the company, in our case, to create these bridges between countries. So that with this program, we went to Mexico and collaborated with Mexico, and we brought the Mexican companies to dance with us here. With the same program, we went to Italy, and we performed with Opus Ballet, a very prominent contemporary dance company there. And we were supposed to bring them here this year, but COVID kind of put a break on it, and we will be bringing them next year. And next year, we were planning to do a collaboration with a company in Portugal, and the Portuguese company the following year will be coming here. So it is, it also the environment. I mean, Miami, it's in all, especially, I mean, at the Miami-Dade County level, and the investment in the arts is very much about creating these bridges. So we had a vision, but also we had a platform that allows us to make that happen.
So I love how, in addition to your being in Miami and having that cultural diversity, but also choosing to focus on that cultural diversity, I love how you're also choosing to focus on climate change, which is great. And I love how last year, I guess you've created these works. I love the one that's outdoors. It's beautiful. So just talk a little bit about that process and sort of what made you go in that direction.
Hannah?
Okay, well, the piece that you're referring to is called Pie Seco, which means dry foot, and it was part of a series of 3 site-specific works that we created, and they each had a very strong, in this case, a very strong political perspective. The first one was about misogyny in the workplace, and it was called 100 doll hairs, because that was it was just a term that was used when I lost an election one time, and my opponent promised to give everyone 100 doll hairs if they voted for him. So it kind of reminded me of the election and the clowning that won everybody over, and sort of that frustration as a woman. And the second piece was Seco about sea level rise, and it was kind of, and they were all meant to be outside site specific work, and it was kind of inspired by the fact that in Miami Beach, that is such a focal point here of sea level rise. It's not like the sea level isn't rising everywhere around the planet, but because Miami Beach is this international city with a lot of press, people keep focusing on it, and because it was built on a barrier island. So there is a lot of flooding, and the change is noticeable and dramatic. And so one of the mayors decided to do a project where he elevated a whole neighborhood, and he created pumps to pump out the water. And so it creates a very funny and a very natural dynamic for dance, where there are these plunging areas in front of a business, and then there's this giant 5-foot step up, and then there's the street. So it created this sort of funny juxtaposition, and the project started at a pump, where one of the pumps, and it sort of migrated over. But in the process of the creation of the work, this is how art and collaboration work to make things come really to life. We were participating in another project with National Water Dance, which is one of the other pieces that we have up on our website, and that is a project of a woman named Dale Andre, and it is has always been a multi-platform way for people to come together to dance and to resonate with the cause of water awareness, water shortage,
conservation,
all those things. And so in the process of the conversation, she connected us to a writer and performer named Josh Fox. And he has a one-man show called The Truth Has Changed. It's very aggressive and very potent. And there's a whole section about climate change. And so through that connection, we were granted the rights to use his language and him talking. And that's really what drove the piece. So, you never know the idea. You have this idea churning, and creatively you're not sure, but then one little thing happens. So the piece was created, and it was literally right before the shutdown. And we were there, but people were already not, it was March 6th, and people were already not gathering. And we had done the first rendition, and Diego had taken some footage, and he decided there just wasn't much audience. So he said, I'm just going to get in there with my iPhone and really film it, because the audience per se was minimal. And so normally if there was a huge audience, you wouldn't want a camera person right in there, but he got in there, and then that was the part that then pulled the piece over the edge, because whatever it was and however it appeared was transformed and made right for film, made right for camera. And I don't think we had ever planned that we were going to release the video on the internet. It was just him sort of toying with it because he had the opportunity, but it really transformed the piece, and you got this sense of this community struggling and about migration and what happens. And then it continued on, but he really captured, the part that we released really captured the most potent part of it. So, these were things that were political.
How have you all adjusted to the pandemic, and how do you see your work moving forward?
We were really in our thick of our season. Usually our season goes from October through May, and usually the most intense part starts from January and ends up in May. So we were right in the middle of it, and we were in the final stages of our second part of our collaboration with an Italian company, Opus Ballet. We went there to perform last year. In Italy, we worked together and danced together. This year, we're supposed to come. So because of that, and because I'm Italian and Hannah's partner is Italian, we had a very, very direct finger on the pulse of what was happening. And so we were, by the month of February or even before, we were already discussing what are we going to do, are we going to be able to bring them here, what is happening. So we knew what was happening. It didn't catch us by surprise, and probably we were a little bit ahead of the curve from everybody else here in Miami. And definitely the people that lead us, that still believe that this is a hoax. So we were ready, and we always had I always have been dabbling in video editing. It's something that I really enjoy doing very, very much.
Well, not just dabbling. He is our video editor. All of the videos of Dance Now for the past decade, at least, if not further, were edited by him. So
So we were ready. We knew there was what was going to happen. The first thing that Anna and I decided is that we did a quick and dirty budget and looked at our economic situation, and we decided that we had to sacrifice certain things in order to be able to keep the dancers, and so we did that. And the dancers' contract was ending the May 31st or June 1st. So we decided no matter what happens, we will honor that, because the dancers is such a fragile position economically. We already cannot afford to pay them a living wage by ourselves. So everything else was going to be gone for them. So we decided that that's the first thing and most important thing. So once that was decided, in about a week or so, we started to, during this brainstorming in our head, and we knew that we had the possibility to create videos, contests. I have a lot of experience in Italian television, and I do have a specific aesthetics of what I believe should happen in television. And we kind of went through deciding what was really worth watching on video, and knowing that, generally speaking, a 30-minute piece that was shot with one camera was not interesting. So we decided that anything that we were going to put back on video, it was going to be new, something new created, either reworking some of the work that we've already done, or something that was created.
Can I then, Diego?
Go ahead.
I think the initial moment that it happened, and we realized that we were all in lockdown. We got our Zoom account, and we met with the dancers, and we talked to them about figuring out how we were going to continue having classes, etc. But beyond when we started to actually forge what became like our 20th anniversary work and our world premieres, we realized that we needed to maintain a presence, because this was, again, as Diego said, the height of what we had. But at the time, we weren't really sure what was going on. We didn't know how long this was going to last. So we were still in that moment, in our minds, we thought maybe we would be performing in May. So the first things that we released were, we told the dancers, well, okay, you need to keep up the rep that we're working on. So the first things that we released were sort of basically under the category of Dance Now at Home, still preparing for a show in May, where we would show, through Diego's editing, we would put them dancing in their backyards, rehearsing the work, juxtaposed with a clip of the work, or overlapped with a clip of the work, so that people would get a sense of sort of continuity, that there was something for our audiences to hang on and our public to hang on, that things were going to be okay. Then, as we started realizing that this was going to go on a little bit longer, then we actually shifted almost to being a sort of public service. We made a stay-at-home video, wash your hands, don't touch your face, we're all in this together. And
we did the census video.
Right, reminding people to fill out the census. And then at that point, we started realizing that our craft was actually shifting. And that's why I wanted to interrupt you, Diego, because that's when we started having the discussion about what is the product that we're going to be putting out now. How are we going to continue to create work? And, I have a million ideas all the time. In the studio, I'm always like, I want to do this kind of lift. And Diego's like, but that is not physically possible. Like, there's no way for the arm to get under there and the person to come up. So it was the same kind of situation here, where I was like, spewing out every kind of thing. We could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And then that was coupled with the reality check of what Diego mentioned. How much can concert dance translate onto a flat screen? It's a different animal, right? It is not at all the same. Things that work on flat screen are different than what works in concert. You're not in a three-dimensional cube, you're in a two-dimensional rectangle. But because Diego had that experience, he had a sense of what could do it, and also because he has a fervid imagination, when it came time to creating like the big world premiere that we did called Zoom, 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 he kind of was overarching directing that. We sort of went crazy with pushing the boundaries, right? People coming up,
right.
how does is that a dance?
Right.
Well, it became a dance for us, and then we other sections of the dance where, it ended up being a beautiful, but going back to what he was saying, without that knowledge, you just don't know what works and what doesn't.
Right.
And we
Personally,
created a series of rehearsals on Zoom. So we knew exactly, we placed the people in a certain direction. We told them, you're going to look right, you're going to look down at this time, at this beat, you're going to do it. That fortunately, we have our incredible rehearsal director. Her name is Alan Ginzayers. She went crazy because we were just choreographing and she was cleaning. It's easier to clean 9 people in one video than 9 videos of one person. So it's really, this. And the other thing that actually we have to give credit to Alan for is that she came up with the word, with the little tagline that was called co-videos. So all of our videos that we've released are called co-videos. COVID in parentheses EOS, and just to make it, a kind of audience, our audience and the people that come follow us, they appreciated that, that's what it was.
and it gave a
context,
a parenthesis on what these were. These were the co-videos. They existed and how they did. And we keep saying we're very proud. We pivoted very quickly. We dove right in. We were actually even supposed to have 2 weeks off with the dancers, and we quickly fundraised so that we could pay them and we could work straight through, because we're responsible. We feel that we are responsible for this sort of family unit that we've created. As we mentioned, it's only 9 dancers, but we also took the approach that in this moment that no attempt is a bad attempt, that no trial, no matter how badly it fails in this moment, we have very high standards. We're all dancers. We want everything to go right. We learn how to turn 3 times on a 2-inch square with a drop of sweat underneath our foot and lights shining in our eyes. So we don't want things to fail. We are trained that that is not part of our field. But in this case, we had to accept, and we have shared with others that are also, trying to make attempts at this. No attempt is a bad attempt. Even when it came time to how were we going to present the work, we kept imagining we were going to, have everything broadcast live with the dancers. And then we watched a Stephen Sondheim Broadway tribute that completely crashed technologically. And we said, well, if Broadway can't do it, then I doubt we're going to be able to do it either. So, we say it with a smile. We have 2. We're 2 people urging each other on and consoling each other when things go wrong. But ultimately, it's a very humbling experience to feel your whole industry, as I said recently, annihilated because it really is. We can't practice in the way we did, we can't create in the way we did, and we can't present in the way we did. So what is similar? Nothing, except for that it is the same, and we can make it the same.
Yeah, our director Mark has also been studying a lot of what cameras should we use, which microphone, what content do we put out, and how do we present it, because we want it to be high quality. And I think also another thing that is so different now is because everything is online, the competition is so big because everyone puts everything there. Right. So you have to find your audience, but you have to somehow stand out that they want to watch your content, your performance, or take your online class. It's something that we never had to think about ever, really, because we had live performances, but it's kind of different when it's online and so easily accessible. You just have to be at your home, and you have millions of videos. And
just because it's millions of video, you can completely disappear in the crowd. That is the problem.
Yeah, we started live streams and things like this, and it was so weird at first, at least for me, to teach in front of a camera, but you don't see anybody. We were doing company classes and stretch classes and stuff that we went live, and it's weird when you can't see the person. Now after 4 months you got used to it, but at first I remember it was a little bit overwhelming because it was so different. And can they hear my voice? Can they hear the music? Can I use this music because of the copyright? All these things that you never had to think about, now you have to think about them. And it's
very true.
Well, I think that brings up a very interesting point to Lisa's question about where is this going to take us. So we as an organization, we have often collaborated with composers, scenic designers, costume designers, but specifically in the issue of music rights, we do usually, as our company has matured, had the rights to perform any music that we use. But what we learned, and we're just in this beautiful changing, fluxing world, is that having the rights to perform a work, it does not give you the rights to broadcast the work on the internet.
Exactly.
In addition, you may even have the rights to the work, but Facebook doesn't know, or one of the other platforms doesn't know, or Instagram doesn't know that you have the rights, and they don't need to do the research. They just block it based on the algorithms.
They just mute you. Yeah.
Right, they just mute you. So the idea, and even for example, when we did the census video, Diego specifically pulled music from a site that said no licensed music. I think it was a census video, but then nonetheless they blocked it because somehow it rang a bell. So what's happening then artistically further is that we're going back, for example, as we look forward to the summer where the company is off and we want to slowly re-release other things. And Diego is, on one hand, editing them more intimately so that they're a little bit more exciting to watch, but also we're going with work with original music that was commissioned. So for an organization our size, it's challenging to get always music that is comparable to what we might be able to find on the internet or a very famous composer that is so inspiring to us. But we have been successful with that, and we know that as we move forward, that is how we're going to approach collaborations with music, because we also know that even if we go back to 100% normalcy, which I believe we will in time, I think that this will pass and we will return. Even at that time, we're never going to discard this new tool of going online, because other dance forms have been online. Other dance forms have had a strong presence on television and on the internet. But concert dance is carving a little niche. And I don't think we need to let that go when everything goes back to normal. I think we want to go back to the theater. That's the passion, but I think there's a way that we want to also keep this. This is cool. It's exciting. It's new. It's young, you know?
Okay, thank you guys so much for being here. And I'm going to also link your website and your Facebooks and Vimos and everything down below. So our viewers, please go check those out.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Hannah, you and I have another Zoom thing.
On our Zoom.
Have fun.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Send me this picture now, Lise.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.